back with board game news, so let's jump right into it, shall we? I'm going to put on my official news reading specs. There we go.
Oh, yeah, there it is. That's what he should have put on
real.
for the game show.
Because it makes you look more intellectual. That would have worked, I think.
I need all the help I can get after that game show, Stephen. All right. We're going to start off with a free, and if there's a better word in the English language, I'm not sure what it is, a free PDF board games magazine coming from Portal Games. So, Stephen, I'm assuming you're going to have a little bit of maybe insider info on this, but it's called Moloch Monthly, and this is something that I know, Zee, you have some affinity for the Molochs, don't you?
I love the Molochs and everything they've done for humanity. Yes,
they're amazing, amazing people. So Ignacy has completely surprised me on two recent announcements. The Batman Detective, he just mentioned, he said it at the PortalCon, and boom, and all of a sudden it was there. He didn't tell me about it. And this too, and we just talked about this on Board Games Insider, and it's really neat. I think this is a great idea to keep Portal Games fans engaged, and they're going to do all the right things. They're going to bring in outside designers to interview and stuff like that. So I have a feeling that he might ask me. I hope he will. I'm not sure which part of his company is doing this, so this is going to be great. I think this is a great way to keep his fans engaged in things that his company is doing. Just another good way of extending your reach into the community.
Yeah, and Mike and I think I looked at it. I think you looked at it a little bit too, Mike, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I read through it. It's some good write-ups in there, some nice articles. I thought it was a good first issue. I assume they'll have enough things to write about as it continues, because obviously this is going to be coming out faster than their own games come out,
right?
Absolutely.
Every month. But if they can stay on top of it and keep the quality up, and this is again good quality, I recommend everybody check it out if you like their games, then I'm looking forward to more of these issues. Yeah,
and we had a little discussion. You might think, well, how are you gonna, since you don't have 12 game releases, it's not gonna, how can you cover enough to have the content? But some people may not realize that Portal is a huge distributor especially in Poland, I believe, right, Stephen? And so they're gonna have games from other publishers, I imagine they'll talk about as well. I don't know that for sure, but
they could be talking about Simon games. They have the license to do all the Simon games in Polish. So no, I think it's this is going to be fun.
All right. Let's jump into a little bit of news from a different publisher, Rio Grande Games, and we're going to see a second edition of Dominion Seaside in April, and it says they expect to release it in April, and containing 9 new types of kingdom cards, and
it's I don't know much. Right?
Yeah, a little reworking, right?
So have any of you guys played the second edition of Dominion? Dominion being they released Dominion and Dominion Intrigue second edition. Have you played any of that?
I have not. No.
Okay. Yeah, neither have I. So I'm assuming that they're just, taking some cards out and adding some new cards just for more balance, because they've learned over the course of 20 years how to do these things. This is one of the true long-term evergreens, set a standard in the industry, the deck building mechanic. So I think it's great to kind of revitalize it so that newer people who might not have picked it up because it was one of those old games, now they're going to see it in a new release. Kudos to Rio Grande for continuing to keep this very significant game alive.
Right, yeah, and this was always actually from all the Dominion sets I've played, and I've played a decent amount of them. This was my favorite. Seaside was always my favorite. So this is not standalone. You do need one of those 2 core boxes that Stephen just talked about. You need either just Dominion itself or Intrigue, which is also standalone. And then you can add this into it. But I recommend it. If you are exploring Dominion for the first time, you want a little more variety, Seaside's going to give that to you. And yes, they've had all those years to reiterate, tighten up, remove a couple of cards they found maybe didn't get played enough or felt a little problematic, and make the package overall stronger and a better product in the end. So absolutely, yeah, like you said, Stephen, a new jumping on point, because there's a lot of people in this hobby now who weren't hobbyists when this came out originally. So
absolutely,
welcome and dive right in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually kind of surprising and impressive to me that a game that has been out as long as Dominion has, that has the amount of sheer cards that Dominion has, with the number of plays, has actually quite a few cards that seem to get removed or complained about for unbalanced. So that's pretty impressive, just as a design achievement.
Yep. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, so another Rio Grande game that's coming out in March is a space-themed game. Now, Rio Grande had a very, very popular space-themed game called Beyond the Sun come out recently, and here's another one that has a similar theme, although it has a pretty different look, called Space Station Phoenix. From a designer that I'm not necessarily familiar with, Gabriel Cohn. I don't know. I'd have to look on BGG to see if I've played any other games or if he has any other games that have been released. But I don't know. It looks maybe a little, just from the components that I can see, and I don't have a whole lot more other than some basic information. It looks maybe like a smaller scale game than Beyond the Sun, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it doesn't look like a big board game, right? It looks like there's these cards, these square cards in a grid. And then some symbology in there, something you'll be interacting with. I have to say, I really like the look of this on the table there. The bit they're showing us, I think looks great. And the cover is fantastic. You know, it's very dynamic. That lighting over the horizon of that planet is powerful stuff. So absolutely, I love this theme. If they can offer something a little shorter, a little more palatable for a tighter time frame, but keeping some of that fun sci-fi stuff, then I'm gonna have to check this one out. I also do not know this designer, but hey, they might have a great game here on their hands.
It looked to me a little bit like Among the Stars when I first saw this today.
Square cards
but it's a much bigger game because you've got you have income actions, 6 different ship actions: dismantle, construct, transport, export. So there's a lot. Well, apparently, from this very detailed description that you guys put in here, it's a lot going on. So this is hitting on all of my I like this, and I love space. So I would definitely try this game.
Yeah, and I hate to compare two games that likely have nothing to do with each other, but the Beyond the Sun also was a game by either, I believe, a first-time designer. I'm not sure if Gabriel Cohn is a first-time designer, but not a very well-known designer, certainly. And good-looking, again, a good-looking project. And I know sometimes Rio Grande has gotten a little bit of grief for the look. This looks really nice to me.
It looks very good.
All right, jumping from space to robots. I guess they're close enough. We've got Quirky Circuits, Penny and Gizmo's Snow Day. It's a standalone game, but with new scenarios. It's similar to Quirky Circuits, but with new scenarios in a smaller box and a lower price, $20.
$20?
That's what it says here, versus the retail of the original game of being $50. That's pretty impressive. And it says, Plaid Hat notes that the game is available for pre-order through Barnes & Noble in the U.S. and has a general retail release date of March 9th. So that might have something to do with this product kind of model that they're going with here.
Well, one of the things that Barnes & Noble has been trying to do, breaking into board games, it's very hard to sell board games in that kind of store at these higher price points, especially if they're not really kind of known entities. So they're obviously taken a game that they had, gone really ultra cute, and brought that price point down to get it in there, and hopefully it's going to sell. This is adorable. I love it. Is this cat. I want to kiss this cat. He's so cute. I see these 2 great miniatures here. It'll be so fun to play with, for kids to play with, and I want to paint those guys. It's really cool.
And now they've got a quote for the back of the box. I want to kiss this cat.
I want to kiss this cat. It's adorable.
That's right.
I love cats, unlike Tom Vassell. Go ahead.
There you go.
All right, let's step back for a sec. I want to mention Gabriel Cohn, who is the designer of Space Station Phoenix, has one other design.
Okay.
Exodus Fleet, which came out from Tasty Minstrel Games. So.
Okay. So not a first-time designer. Got it. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, this is their second game, both in space. So clearly they're a fan of space. That makes me even more excited.
Yeah. All right. Well, we talked about a game that was going for a very low price point, $20 for that new Quirky Circus game. Let's go to the other end of the spectrum, and I don't know if you gentlemen are familiar with a game called Soro from Calliope Games. Well, eventually it was originally WizKids. Now we've got a new edition of Soro. This one coming in at the low price of $350.
Right.
So now here's the thing, though. I think it's interesting. They're not. It sounds to me like they're not kind of shying away from that. They're calling it the Soro Luxury Limited Edition, one-off production. It says it's been in development for more than 8 years. All right. So, look, I mean, Soro is a game that I think is pretty popular. I mean, this is an abstract game that a lot of people have played. It's a very, very simple game. It's one of those games you can really kind of explain and teach to almost anybody. But it was always I always considered it to be a pretty modest type of a product, right? It was not blingy or anything necessarily. This is the other end of that, right?
It's got a board and 8 rocks.
Yeah.
That's what the game is. So you're going to go from that, I'll make up a number, $30 game.
Sure. Times
10. I was pretty, I want to use my terms very carefully. I was intrigued by such a bold move, and I love Soro, and I love my friends at Calliope Games, but this is kind of a weird thing to be putting, unless they allow. I can see this cool dragon miniature that's in a gold, not, it's probably a painted gold or something, or a pewter, who the heck knows.
Yeah.
I don't get this, and I apologize to.
It does seem like an odd choice for a game to go super luxury, but I guess, you see some very fancy, chess sets and even backgammon sets. I mean, I guess maybe they're trying to present this as like a, reinforcing, hey, this is a classic abstract game. Maybe they're trying to kind of push into that a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't seen, obviously we haven't really seen this, and I certainly not in person for one thing. I'd have to see it before I go, that's enough, that's too much, that's too cheap, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
I'd have to see what this is. I will say, I think this is better for you to make let's call it an heirloom edition, okay?
There
for you to make an heirloom edition of a game that has existed for a solid decade now, I think.
Sure, more.
And has sold well. I know it's sold quite well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Versus a game on Kickstarter that no one's heard of, and you want to sell us your game that is unproven in the market for $200, right?
What if it has zombies? What if
then I'll
superhero
play
zombies?
it every time. I mean, my money is there. Here's my credit card, and here's the security code.
Yes, Mike. What about superhero zombies?
I'm just saying.
That's the thing. I think that this is fine. They are not doing this with something that is brand new.
Right.
You know what I mean? At that point, I agree. Are you?
Yeah.
What? Why? Like, why would you go $350 on something that's the only edition? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if this is a fancy edition, I can very easily ignore. If I just like Zero, that's fine. I can just get the $30 one or whatever it is. So, no issues with them doing this. Hopefully it sells. Maybe there's people out there who really want a gorgeous, again, heirloom piece they can leave out on their table. But if you don't,
I have of course, no issue with them doing it. It's surprising that with the modest amount of components that the game had to create to go up 10 times that. I can't wait to see what this thing's going to look like.
That's where I'm at. I want to see this thing.
I definitely want to see this thing. Would I buy a $350 version of Soro? No, I like my $30 version. It really is good and fun, and I can bring it out anyway. But you know what? Who knows? I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for these things. Go ahead.
All right. So with this next little segment here is talking about video game licenses that are being brought over to tabletop. And this is nothing new. I think we're seeing this actually quite a bit more lately. Things like Horizon Zero Dawn and Dark Souls and things like that. And we usually don't talk about crowdfunding projects, but again, this is more of like a maybe something we're seeing more of in games. So the first one we're talking about is from a team up between FunForge, board game publisher, and Ubisoft. I don't know the pronunciation on that. This is Far Cry Beyond. Have either of you gentlemen played any of the Far Cry games?
No.
Yeah.
I have not either. I know nothing about it.
This is a great series
of
open. Oh yeah. I've played.
Okay.
I played the original, which was a big deal in first-person shooters. This was like late '90s. It was or maybe early 2000s, something like that. It was a while ago anyway. And yeah, that was a big deal. The first one. Then I've played several of the other ones. I'm not caught up by any means, but I've played some of them. They are shooters. They are open world. Usually set on some sort of tropical setting in which you are fighting someone moving in and taking over the island or something along those lines. And you're free in encampment. You are taking back territory, that sort of thing. And so this is interesting. I mean, it looks, from what the picture they show here, it looks like it would be the micro part of the game, not the macro part of the game.
Right.
Like we're not looking at the island and you are taking over things. We are looking at a firefight, I assume, like one firefight.
Sure.
So, but I like the license and I like the look here of this cover. I think what they're doing sounds interesting. I'm not always the best with a translation of a video game to a board game.
Right.
I think I miss the video game stuff that they have to remove, but I like this license, so I might check this one out.
All right, and all we really know at this point, March 7th this year for a launch date, and it's co-op. All right, next up is another one that I actually don't know anything about. Deep Rock Galactic. I had at least heard of Far Cry, of course, but this is one I've never even heard of before. And it says it's it's being based off of a first-person shooter from a Danish studio, Ghost Ship Games. And this is interesting, though. It's being produced in saying in the country, in their country from Ole Steinus. 1 to 4 player game. Yep. You take on the roles of dwarf miners in space. So hey, I like the way that sounds. Dice throwing.
I like the tagline: danger, darkness, dwarves.
That's right.
It's like dwarves in space, right? That's what we got here. It's very interesting.
That's what it is. It's a great cover. I love it.
It's a fantastic cover. Yeah.
I love that if you look a little closely, there's like, of course, creatures and guns going off and all that. And then above one of these guys' heads in the back over there, there's a beer stein flying off in the.
There's a beer stein. Look at it. Love it.
That's all great. Yeah, it looks great.
Stephen Buonocore, all in pledge.
All in pledge on this one. No.
Actually, I don't know if this is going to Kickstarter or not. This might just be going right to retail. I don't know.
It's interesting. This is a mashup, right, of two completely separate thematic things. Dwarves go down into mines and dig things, and they're out in space like mechs, shooting stuff. So why not? I mean, let's see how this plays out. Hopefully, so I guess they're going to use the tropes is not the right word. The things that dwarves do normally with the things that space marines do. So yeah, why not? This sounds cool.
Yeah. Let's hope the game is as good as the cover looks. All right.
Yes.
The next one is coming from Level 99, and this is a tie-in with their Exceed system, this fighting game system, for something called Under Night in Birth. Under Night in Birth, all right, which is apparently a series of fighting games that I am not familiar with. Okay, so you're not familiar with this one either, okay?
I was playing Far Cry at the time.
That's correct. That's correct. So, look, to me, I think this is going to be, if you like the Exceed system, maybe you'll be interested just because of that. If you like this video game, perhaps you'll come into it that way. I don't know what the Venn diagram is between fans of both. I just have no idea.
Well, I suspect a lot of the people who like Exceed fighting system from Level 99 know what Under Night in Birth means.
Correct.
I suspect those people know, that what that thing is. Even if maybe they haven't played it, they've heard of it. They're interested in that aesthetic, that type of entertainment. So I just don't really, I don't really know it. But Hopefully it's exciting for this to come to that system. I have no idea.
Is Under Night in Birth like a kind of an anime translation, like a Japanese? You know, it's such a weird name.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
I would be speaking out of complete ignorance, so I'm going to try not to. What I can't tell is it says, you know, the publisher was saying, as fans of Under Night ourselves, who we've paid great attention to detail. So I don't know, is like Under Night the actual game and In Birth is one aspect? I don't know. I know nothing about this.
There's no colon there, right? Under Night.
Well,
Under Night colon In Birth.
Maybe,
I mean, it's really weird.
It might be an implied colon. We know that's a pre-order on February 1st. So actually the pre-order is already apparently live. Release scheduled for early Q4 of this year. So apparently if you are interested, you can pre-order it right now.
All right.
And in by far, and I think I can say this unequivocally, the biggest news in video game to board game, Chip Theory Games, who was most well known for their Too Many Bones line, I would imagine, although they have a number of big games, have partnered up with Bethesda for the Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era. This is, I think, massive news. I think because Chip Theory already has a huge fan base that are going to be interested in anything they produce, and you can count me amongst those. And then fans of the Elder Scrolls, who are many in numbers. I think this is potentially going to be a huge project. It's coming, and again, this is in the future. This is not even coming to GameFound until October of this year. But from what little I can tell, is that this is going to be at least tangential to the Too Many Bones system. Now, that it's very early, but it looks like it at least has some common DNA with that system. They're calling it their most ambitious game, and they've already put out a lot of ambitious games. So to say I'm interested and excited about this would be almost an understatement.
Right. All right. That's all you, Mike.
You have no interest in this? Is it too? Are you concerned about the amount of content or?
Oh yeah, the complexity and the not for me.
And I gotta say, I've never played Too Many Bones, so I can't really comment too much on the system. And they're not showing any of the production, which obviously they say will be lavish and full of beautiful stitched match. And so yeah, I don't have the connection to this. Just this little bit makes me intrigued, and I do like the big systems. So I am intrigued. I got to see it.
If you go to the Chip Theory website, you can see some, I'm sure it's all prototype pre-production stuff, but you can at least get a hint for what type of direction they're looking to go. All right. This is also, I feel, interesting. They're getting out of video games. Spielworks is going to release a new Uwe Rosenberg, it looks like, from what I can tell, a bigger box Uwe Rosenberg game. And I was really hoping that Tom was going to have to wrestle with the pronunciation of this. So I'm going to be the sucker.
Oranienburger
Kanal. 1 to 2 player game. So I'm trying to think. The only other big box 1 to 2 player game Uwe's done that I can think of is Fields of Arle, right?
I think so.
So
I think Fields of Arle is only 2, yeah.
Yeah, 1 or 2 players. So I think this is going to get a lot of people's attention because of the connection of designer and publisher. So
we'll I like that cover, I'll be honest.
I do too.
I think the yellow might be a little much, but I really like the illustration. Yeah, that mustard is a little mustardy for me. Yeah. I like the filigree action going on inside of that, and I like that illustration in the middle. I really do.
I do too.
It looks like stained leather or something.
Is it Corinthian leather? Rich Corinthian leather?
Fine Corinthian.
Maybe.
Fine.
It's from the Oranienburger Canal.
The intersection is big on a Spielworks Rosenberg game. So this is going to do well for Spielworks. So congratulations to them.
Yeah, I would think so. Looking forward to it. All right, and finally, to close it out with some more pretty big news, I would say, is a reprint, but not just a straight reprint from what I can tell, kind of a re-implementation, a new version of a game by Paolo Mori called Libertalia. And this is getting a little bit of a subtitle added, Libertalia Winds of Galecrest. So looks like all new art, some reworking. It says it's an expanded edition with all new art, 40 characters per player now, a reputation system to resolve tiebreakers, deluxe loot tokens, a robust solo mode, which it did not have before, and much more. So, yeah, go ahead, Stephen. You got your hand up.
Wasn't this a pirate game? I have this game.
It looks like it's still a pirate game, but it looks like maybe a fantasy pirate game.
What's with the Flying Dutchman ship thing? Yeah, I don't.
I'm the Flying Dutchman.
I don't.
Well, it's.
I don't like the look of this.
You, huh?
I don't like. Well, I don't like the look of it as much as I like the true piratey kind of dark thing. I mean, I'm not saying it's great to see the game coming back in a new edition. It was a pretty good game. I have it.
Yeah.
Would never leave my collection. It's kind of that kind of cool game. I'm not. Doesn't look. I mean, the artwork alone is just not doing it for me the way that the original piratey artwork did. That's all.
Yeah, they're calling it Sky Pirates.
The original printing, which I also have, Stephen, and I agree with it. It's a great game. It does have this grim, photorealistic pirate vibe to it, right?
Yeah.
It's artwork, but it looks really good. Mm-hmm. This one, I had a similar reaction to it at first blush, seeing it. I thought, this looks kind of cartoony. They went for like the fantasy thing. Do we not have enough fantasy games? Just give me a pirate game. That's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be pirates that fly and go to places I can't pronounce. You know what I mean? So, but I'm waiting to see what they do. This is Stonemaier. They know what they are doing when it comes to production and making things streamlined and tightening up their iconography and all those things. So I want to see what they do with this one before I'm flippant about it.
100% I want to play this to see what they've done with it. I'm just giving it the first blush aesthetic thing. This is it's a fun game, and if they've even improved it, that's a cool thing.
Yeah. I want to see more of it. That's for sure. I want to see.
I'm with you, Zee. I want to see more of it. I didn't have the kind of initial. I don't love the font, but I like the look of it. I don't care that it's going to Sky Pirates. It's a good game. I want to see what they do.
Sky Pirates, yeah.
That's right. All right, well, let's take one last break here and take a look at some fantastic contributors, and then we'll come back here to see you off.